Ladies and gentlemen, listen up. This is not just a story, it's a wake-up call. A story of courage, humiliation, and the power of truth. Tonight, you're about to witness how one black pilot was mocked, laughed at, and humiliated in front of his own crew. But what his mockers didn't know is that the airline's owner was watching. Before we dive in, what country are you watching from? Drop it in the comments and stay locked in, because this story will shake you to your core. And before we dive in, smash that subscribe button, hit the like, and turn on the notification bell, because these stories deserve to be heard. The airport was buzzing with life. Passengers hurried through security gates, flight attendants adjusted their uniforms, and the steady hum of rolling suitcases filled the polished floors. In the middle of it all stood Captain Marcus Reed, a 38-year-old black American pilot. Tall, sharp, with cocoa-brown skin and eyes that carried both determination and years of struggle, Marcus wore his crisp white pilot's uniform with gold-striped epaulets shining against his shoulders. He had dreamed of this day since childhood, commanding one of the largest aircraft in the fleet. But inside the pilot's lounge, whispers had already begun. Some of his white colleagues smirked, exchanging glances. To them, Marcus's presence in the captain's seat was an anomaly. He was a black man in a cockpit that, for far too long, had been dominated by others. First Officer Richard Hayes, a man in his late 50s with graying hair, leaned back in his chair with a mocking smile. "Hope you know what you're doing up there." His tone dripped with arrogance. The other crew members chuckled quietly. The atmosphere grew heavy, but Marcus kept his composure. He checked the flight plan, ignoring the snickers, refusing to let their prejudice pierce his professionalism. Boarding time arrived. Passengers settled into their seats, unaware of the storm brewing inside the cockpit. As Marcus adjusted the controls and prepared for takeoff, Hayes muttered under his breath, loud enough for the cabin crew to hear. "Guess we're all in for an interesting ride. Let's hope the captain doesn't get lost." Laughter erupted. A flight attendant covered her mouth, hiding a smirk. Another whispered, "Can you believe this?" Marcus's heart pounded. This wasn't just casual banter. It was mockery, fueled by the color of his skin. Every chuckle felt like a dagger. But he stayed silent, his focus steady on the runway ahead. Years of training, countless hours of study, and relentless discipline had prepared him for this moment. But what none of them realized, hidden in the first-class cabin, seated quietly behind a newspaper, was Jonathan King, the billionaire owner of the airline. Jonathan was a man of few words but sharp observation. He wasn't supposed to be on this flight. It was a last-minute decision, a routine check on his airline service. And now, from behind the pages of his newspaper, he was watching everything unfold. The aircraft thundered down the runway and soared into the sky, slicing through clouds as Marcus guided it with flawless precision. Every move was smooth, calculated, confident. The passengers relaxed, sipping drinks and scrolling through their devices, but tension still lingered inside the cockpit. Hayes leaned closer, his tone dripping with contempt. "You've got the hands on the controls, but do you really belong here? Let's not kid ourselves. Piloting isn't just about book knowledge, it's about instinct, something you people lack." The words burned. They weren't just racist, they were meant to strip Marcus of dignity. A flight attendant listening nearby stifled laughter, her shoulders shaking. For Marcus, it felt like the walls were closing in. But Jonathan King was still watching. His sharp eyes caught every smirk, every insult, every unprofessional jab. He folded his newspaper slowly, resting it on his lap. Marcus, however, stayed composed. His voice over the intercom was calm and commanding as he addressed the passengers. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We are cruising at 35,000 feet and conditions ahead look clear. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight. No hint of pain cracked his voice. He refused to give them the satisfaction of seeing him break. Mid-flight, turbulence struck. The aircraft shook violently as storm clouds gathered. Gasps filled the cabin, and flight attendants scrambled to calm passengers. This was the true test of a pilot's skill. Hayes, the arrogant first officer, panicked. His hands trembled as he fumbled with controls, muttering, "This is bad. This is really bad." His face turned pale. The same man who mocked Marcus was now falling apart under pressure. But Marcus, calm, steady, focused. He took command with firm authority, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Autopilot off. Adjust heading. Decrease altitude by 2,000 feet. We're riding this storm out." Lightning flashed across the sky, but Marcus's hands never shook. With absolute precision, he guided the aircraft through turbulence, stabilizing it until the skies cleared. Passengers burst into applause, unaware of the drama inside the cockpit. Relief spread like wildfire. Hayes sat frozen, drenched in sweat, humiliated by his own incompetence. Marcus turned, his eyes sharp, but his words restrained. "Instincts, that's what you questioned. Did you see them fail me today?" The silence that followed was deafening, and in the first-class cabin, Jonathan King smiled. He had seen enough. The flight landed smoothly. Passengers cheered, thanking the captain as they disembarked. Hayes avoided eye contact, his arrogance shattered. The crew members who once mocked Marcus now stood in awkward silence. But then, Jonathan King rose from his seat. Dressed in a sharp navy suit, his presence commanded instant respect. He walked directly toward the cockpit, where Marcus was finishing post-flight checks. The crew stiffened. Hayes forced a nervous smile. "Mr. King, what an honor to have you on board." Jonathan didn't even look at him. His gaze locked on Marcus. He extended his hand firmly. "Captain Reed, your skill today was extraordinary. I was on that flight. I saw everything." Gasps filled the room. The crew's faces drained of color. Jonathan turned to Hayes and the others. "And I saw everything you did, too. The mockery, the disrespect, the racism. This is not what my airline stands for." Hayes stuttered, but Jonathan's voice thundered. "You humiliated a man who not only deserves his seat, he proved he is one of the best pilots in this company. Effective immediately, disciplinary action will be taken." The mockers shrank into silence. Jonathan placed his hand on Marcus's shoulder. "Captain Reed, men like you don't just fly planes, you carry the weight of progress. This airline needs more of you." And that day, the tables turned. The laughter stopped. The arrogance crumbled. What began as humiliation ended in vindication. Marcus didn't just fly a plane, he silenced generations of prejudice with every steady hand on the controls. To everyone watching right now, this story isn't just about one pilot. It's about every person who has been mocked, doubted, or belittled because of who they are. Remember this: skill, discipline, and dignity will always rise above hate. If this story moved you, drop A in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories that the world needs to hear. Because together, we're not just telling stories, we're changing them. Stay tuned, the next story might just be yours.